Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Everything in life starts with communication. We communicate. If we didn't, how would anybody know what we're talking about? How would we convey ideas? All of that. Part of that communication in the workplace is for companies. What messaging are you putting out there? Got somebody that we're going to look at a company that she worked with recently that won a huge contract, and she worked with them on that. The company that she works with is Effective Presentations, and she is Jessiee Datino, and she's with us today. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you doing, Steve?
Fantastic. Good to have you with us. And I'm intrigued to get to sort of our case study with the company that you worked with. Now, even before we get there, Effective Presentations, the company you work with, what are some of the things that they do?
We specialize in getting people comfortable speaking no matter where they are, no matter who they're speaking to. It is one of my crowning achievements, I do believe, in terms of onboarding with the skills behind presentations, and then also matching that, pairing that with ideas about leadership. How can we use our communication the most effectively to deepen not only our professional lives, but our personal lives as well? And then behind all of that is the messaging piece of it. What are we actually saying? And are we using our time and our others' time, whether it's the presentation or the conversation, intentionally? And that's the big cornerstone of what Effective Presentations brings to companies and individuals. And I'm really proud to be a part of it.
So that leads us into a company that you worked with recently who found a lot of success in just homing in on what their messaging is or was. Tell us about that.
About, I want to say a couple of months ago, I went out to Florida and worked with an engineering firm called WGI. Very, very, very smart group of people that know their content very, very well. One of the things that they do is create and develop designs that the government could potentially buy and respond to requests for proposals. Now, these are very big deals because it's a lot of money, a lot of reputation is at stake, and it's very complicated. There are certain messaging items that the team that is picking what RFP they will go with are looking for. Now, sometimes that messaging can be in a slide deck, and sometimes that messaging are the actual words that they say. And what we were looking at was a group of individuals who knew exactly what they were saying. They knew exactly their content, but they weren't quite considering their audience yet. Now, that audience could vary from someone who has a very deep understanding of engineering design and a very deep understanding of the transportation system. That audience could also be someone who is looking at time management skills, looking at a budget, and might not know those deeper things, those innate things that those engineers knew so viscerally. We took our pitch, we completely reworked a slide deck that was very complicated to read, easily understood by someone who understood engineering, but not so much by the layman who might not get it. We reworked all of that information and started taking a little bit more time with the message and became more intentional with the actual words they were saying. They walked away after 6 years of not getting a win from the Department of Transportation in Florida, and now they're looking at a $15 million design contract. And I am very proud that I was a part of that. Actually, I'm going down there in a couple of weeks to work on another pitch with them.
Wow. Good for you. I'm like, it's exciting.
Good for them. Good for them.
I'm going to be honest. I laser here and I'm very transparent. I have a marketing company as well. And somebody recommended me to somebody else for an RFP. And I don't know if it's going to come. It may. He actually said, yeah, I recommend you. I'm not even sure what to put in it. It's like it's very detailed, like you said, the messaging. When you talk about for this company, the content versus the messaging, how did that look? What were they doing? I mean, I don't, we can keep it confidential too. It doesn't matter. You know,
I think they were doing what everyone innately, the first go-to that everyone innately does, which is I'm going to research, content, and then they do what I lovingly call the show up and throw up. They get up in front of a group of people and they show how much they know rather than thinking about their audience and what their audience actually needs to hear. One of the things that we talk about in our workshop all the time. What is the one thing in the world that everyone is selfish about, Steve? What do you think?
Say it again. The one thing in the world that
I think every single person is selfish about.
oh, um, hmm, their time.
You're exactly right. There's time.
Seriously?
Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. And a bunch of complicated language, a bunch of complicated ideas that one person in the room understands is a waste of everyone else's time. So how can we take a peek at these slide decks and look at an overcomplicated message and narrow it down to the few things that those people will be able to take away with them? Because the truth is that if you think about what earned time is and match it with trust, I mean, I think innately everyone is going to have a general idea. So the next time you're getting ready to do your RFP for your marketing company, there's going to be a number of companies that you're going up against that you probably have similarly equal quality work that you're bringing.
Sure,
of course. But what's the one thing that's going to set you apart from the rest? You.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that we're innately judgy creatures. I think that what we're constantly doing is wondering if we can trust the person that's in front of us. And trust goes back to that very, very, very beginning piece of what we just talked about. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. You stand in front of me and make my time valuable for you? I'm innately going to trust you more and buy in to your pitch more because it's easier. You've thought about me. You've considered me. And I think that's the biggest piece that sets people a little above the rest. And that's why you get those RFPs. That's why you get those contracts. That's why we buy into the person, not the idea. So often. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you can't package it, deliver it, and sell it, dead in the water.
It's so true. It's what's in it for me? Meaning the other person. I won't post anything on social unless I feel that it provides a benefit for somebody else, whatever it's going to be, positive vibe, whatever. And even just to illustrate your point here, working in radio for since I was a kid, literally.
Yeah.
And everything in a morning show that we would talk about, I would put it through the who gives a blank filter before we do it. It's like, how does it going to benefit somebody else? What are they going to take from it? Whether it's funny, whether it's interesting, whether it's some insight, it's got to have that kind of that stickiness. Otherwise, what's the point? You're wasting somebody's time.
You're wasting somebody's time, and that's what I love. It's almost I found social media to be really difficult and incredibly inauthentic for a very long time until I found a lens of looking at it through a mission statement. It's not about me, it's about you. So what can I do on my end to make sure, ensure that your time spent with me, whether it's a silly little post or an hour pitch or just a conversation with a friend, is about the other person. And that's when people start zoning out, is when someone's making it all about themselves. I'm so glad you had 15 lobster rolls over the weekend. I don't know what's in it for me. Tell me which one is the best. I don't know.
Right. Unless there's something positive. Let's say you do a post and it's, I found the perfect lobster roll. If anybody wants to know, is it Jimmy's, seafood shack? Hope you're having a great weekend. I don't know. There's something, at least you gave a little something to somebody.
And I think that the difference between that passive version or the version of what you just talked about was that there was intent behind it.
Right.
It was done intentionally. And it's not just the passive letting time fly, letting life fly by, just getting the information that we want out there.
I'm a member of a few Facebook groups. They're like social groups. They all hang out. There's a few, there's this one, that one, that. And the pictures are always the same. It's like, had another great Saturday night. And then, somebody's, it's all the same. And I'm like, after a while, I'm like, why am I looking at this? Because it's in my feed. And then I'm like, you know why I'm looking at it? You know why I'm looking at those? Hoping that I'll get something out of it.
Yeah.
The next one onto the, there's never, all it is we're all hanging out together having a great time where they're probably miserable anyway, but they just, went out or whatever. Um, there's gotta be a reason that you're doing things, to your point.
Exactly, and that's the intent behind it. And to go back to what you were talking about initially with bringing your marketing company into an RFP, it can be so hard when you have so many points that you want to hit, right? Like they're asking you, you have to cover a certain amount of content. But we think, okay, I have to cover content, but we don't think about the why. It's just like blanketly putting a post out there because I feel it's Saturday and I post every Saturday and I have to do it. What's the why behind it? And I think that that's the biggest piece of it. And that's what people appreciate. That's why there's certain people out there that have 1 million followers and because there's a reason behind it. Or that makes, even to your point too, even if it just makes me feel something.
How many times have
Yeah.
I try not to get sucked down the video or reel rabbit hole, but how many
Right.
times you've been looking and you'll see a reel and you watch, it's like maybe 50 seconds and you're watching it. It's like, all right, there's gonna be a payoff. And it gets to the end, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I wasted or if it's longer, like 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
you think it's gonna go, there's something there. And then you look at the comments and what do they say? You wasted my time.
The movie? Where is this? Why didn't you tell me? Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's like you never want to be that person,
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm. No, it feels like a waste of time. It's like all those workout videos now, or the nutrition or supplement videos where you watch a very fit person for a long time and they tell you all the things that you're doing wrong, but they don't tell you what to do right.
unless you click the link down below and I'll give you my free blah 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 blah. This is gonna and normally I don't give that up. But you know what? I'm feeling like I need to free. So click that link down there below and see ya.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
it's infuriating. It's a culture that we have right now where it's like, it's leading people on, leading people on. No, don't waste people's time like that. That's like even with thinking about presentations too. One of the exercises that I do in my workshop, because I think it's important to formulate your eye, is we watch presentations, speeches back, oftentimes TED Talks. And people have varying degrees of what they feel about TED Talks, and it's all fine. But what we're looking for is through the lens of public speaking and presentation. So what works for you? I mean, it's a very subjective topic. Everyone has different styles. Everyone is drawn to different attributes about that speaker, whatever it is. It could be physically, it could be tonally, it could be just in how they made them feel. But within those moments, there's ultimately one presentation that I like to drop in, and I always give this person this. They say, that was really fun to watch. I really enjoyed it, but I don't know why were they talking? And the answer is embedded in there, but they didn't tell us. And so instead of waiting until the very end to explain why their time is valuable, my goal, one of my major goals, is to think about that first and foremost, because that's what builds trust. If you consider me as an audience member, and in those first 30 seconds, you tell me why you are not wasting my time, and your message is intentional, I will buy into you forever. But if you draw it out and draw it out and draw it out and draw it out and draw it out for, I don't know, views, needs, whatever it is, or just wanting to that person hear themselves talk, you lost me.
It's so true. And you're bringing back memories of like the fitness professional, or for me, it's marketing schemes, whatever you normally watch, you get more of, they feed you more, right?
Yeah.
So how many times have you seen what we just talked about? Click the link down below, and I've actually done it. Like let me see what they've got. What do they offer? And you go to a website, and it's the same thing. Scroll of garbage, blah 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 blah. Like you are wasting my time. You're a jerk. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like I like borderline, and I'm the chillest, low key person on the planet. But I'm like a little bit like I'm annoyed now. Like really, really,
Yeah.
here's another one, so really to your point, if you can be genuinely authentic,
Mhm.
I know you're busy. I want to help you out. I've got something for you. And
Yeah.
then deliver it in a short span of time. And then if you want to learn more, click the link, whatever. At least you're being
Yeah.
genuine.
Here it is. Here. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to keep you on my site longer. I'm not trying to whatever. I mean, just from a marketing point of view, whether you're marketing yourself, whether you're marketing an idea, whether you're marketing a product, the biggest way that people lose me, and oh my gosh, how many times have you scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and then maybe just subscribed because you already spent that much time, but it's done a little bit resentfully.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. You've invested so much time already.
Yeah, might
Why
as
not go there?
well. It's
Yeah.
like staying in a bad relationship. Well,
Well, how many times it's like, let's say, you're going to go on a date with somebody and you're like, I know it's not going to be that great, but I'm just going to go
no.
anyway because we've been chatting on an app
Yeah,
and you,
exactly. Because
right. And
even
you already knew it's the same thing when you subscribe. Sometimes you
yeah,
use, the junky Gmail address just to,
yeah,
put it in there so it's not in your face all the time. But so true. Like,
yeah.
when you work with people, now this was one situation with the RFP for this company.
Mhm.
You help with presentations as well, like verbal presentations, like we're doing right now, Zoom presentations with people, all of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. We run the gamut. It all boils down to the skills. And half of that is just being interested rather than trying to be interesting. And I think a lot of that is, yes, we look at slide decks, of course we do. We look at in-person presentations, we look at Zoom presentations, but if you really boil it all down, everything that we work on here, it's just good communication skills. And this goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning with onboarding these communication skills. It transfers everywhere.
Mm.
It's the same interaction that you have paying for your gas at your gas station versus having a really hard conversation with your sister because it's time for something, whatever it is. They're all the same skills. And it's just about not making about ourselves and making about the other person. And other people really feel and trust that. So when we think about our messaging, yeah, it is making eye contact, and it's making sure that we are in control of the tone of our voice, making sure that we're received in the way that we intend, and opening ourselves up to let that person have the same opportunity. But it's also about being very intentional with your messaging. And that's the big piece of it, is how can I become more and more intentional with my messaging so it's not just a passive waste of another person's
I'm going to remember what you said, being interested as opposed to being interesting.
time. Yeah, that's a big
Big
cornerstone
deal.
of that.
That's a big deal, right?
I think so. I think so. I started off my career and I did a little Google search too, Steve, and the other folks that you work with, and I know that you all have a history in the arts. I spent a lot of time in the arts myself, and part of that was being interested in the other, whoever your scene partner was, whoever that character was being written, rather than making ourselves be the interesting one, because that's not fun to watch. It's not fun to
Yeah.
watch when you have a third wall there. It's also not fun to be in a conversation with. And that's
Were
what presentations are. They're just conversations.
were you when you were younger?
Mm-hmm.
Were you like shy? Did you
Mm,
have yeah?
incredibly shy. And you know what's interesting? Actually, I was at a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and this woman reframed being an introverted extrovert in a way that I just fell in love with. And the way that she described it was when an extrovert wakes up in the morning, and neither of them are right or wrong, good or bad, it's just truth. This analogy spoke to me. When an extrovert wakes up in the morning, they have a cup. They have a cup that they're going to fill with coins, and that cup at the beginning of the day is empty. So they fill it from other people. They fill their cup with coins from the interactions that they receive from other people. So at the end of the day, that cup is loaded and they're ready to go. An introvert wakes up in the morning with a very full cup of coins. And as they walk through the day and have these interactions, they're giving themselves away so that when that cup is depleted, they have to take time and shut down. Now, I don't know that I was entirely shy, but I do think that interactions, though I love them, it takes a piece of me. And so I need to be very, very, very conscious of when I need to take my time to refill my cup.
Totally understand it. I
Yeah.
totally,
Were you the
totally,
same way?
I don't totally, yes. And it was even to the point where, working in radio, even doing podcasts, at the end of the day, sometimes I don't want to talk. I'm like,
Oh,
just like you say, and it's also, if you believe in energy, you're giving a piece of energy here and here
right.
and here. And your cup, you only have so much to give. So maybe at the end of the day, but it's an interesting analogy, between an extrovert and an introvert in the cup visual.
The Phyllis of the cup. It spoke to me when someone first explained it that way, because it didn't feel, sometimes when people talk about introverts, it can have a little bit of a negative connotation.
Yes.
Oh, that's true. I think that we all, in order to know what you can give, you have to know what you can handle, and it's different for everybody. And there's no right or wrong version of that at all. But, when you're getting ready to do let's say your next RFP pitch there, Steve, for your marketing company, you might know that you've got, to take some time before it. We all need to know what it takes to be the most effective version of a communicator that we can. And that is going to look different for everybody. Sometimes it's hard for people to just simply write an email. Other times it's the most stressful thing in the whole wide world to stand up in front of a group of people and talk. Or maybe they love those presentations, but in that meeting, when all eyes are looking at them with their colleagues, that's the most nerve-wracking thing. Who knows what it is? But it's a journey to know ourselves, and that's a big piece of it, is how do we communicate and what works for us. And I think the cornerstone of all of it, is that feeling of time being wasted. And I know that if my cup isn't full, then I'd be wasting other people's time.
Wow. I learned a lot today from you.
Well, I
Seriously.
really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you for having me
Like,
on.
super cool. And one overlying theme here is that when you work on this stuff for your business, it trickles down in your life. You
Yeah.
just develop those skills, the keen sense of, I'm not going to waste your time. It's even in a conversation, you run into somebody, you tell them a story.
Yeah.
Side note, I'm in a men's group, joined about 6 months ago. Been impactful, really good, whatever.
Yeah.
There's one man in the group that when he's got a great voice, like just a great guy. When he speaks and tells a story, we all look at him, laser it down, laser, because he's like this. And one of the values of the group is respect other men's time. So just exactly what you're
I love
saying.
that. Yes.
Exactly what you're saying. That's like one of the core top 5 values. Respect others' time. Um,
Mhm.
how do we find you? Can we connect with you? Or, of course, effectivepresentations.com, I believe, is the website for the company.
Yes, effectivepresentations.com is the website to the company. My name is Jessiee Datino. My parents were really generous and gave me a very unique spelling of it. It's Jessiee at effectivepresentations.com. If anyone's curious, please reach out. And I'd be happy to talk about our offerings and a little bit more about what we do here at the company.
This is one of the most important things in life, communication. This is how we connect with people. It's all there, whether it's personally, professionally. Um, Thank you for being here today. Thank you for not wasting our time, by the way. This is all great. It's really good.
For having me. I really enjoyed it, Steve. And also thank you for saying that too, because I truly believe that intentional communication is one of the most valuable things that we have. And also we also we need help with it.
We
We need
do.
to be able to have room and space to explore it. And I know I'm constantly curious and growing. And if you are curious and want to grow, please reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessiee. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.